This is an interview with Neil Jurick. Mr. Jurick was born on August 20th, 1921. Mr. Jurick served in the Merchant Marines during World War II. Mr. Jurick achieved the rank of ensign. This interview is being conducted in Woodland, California on November 29th, 2015. This interview is being conducted by Jessica Young, and also present are Ava Burr, Sabra Mooney, Edson Gonzalez, and Megan Donaldson. The interview is being conducted by students of Da Vinci Charter Academy for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. Okay, so now that's out of the way. So we're going to start off with a few biographical details. So when and where were you born?
In Denver, Colorado, in 1921.
And what were your parents' occupations, and do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I had a brother and a sister.
And what were you doing before you entered the service?
I was, well, lots of things. I was a point driver in Alaska. I worked for the railroad, Southern Pacific Railroad. I've done many things, the walrus said. Ships at sea and cabbages and kings. Oh yeah.
How old were you when you entered the service?
When I went in the service?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess I was, 22.
Okay, very young. Do you have any other family members who served in the military?
Yeah, I had a brother that was a radio man, and he was on a reconnaissance mission flying from Catalina to the mainland, and it crossed the shoreline and lightning hit the plane.
Oh.
Imagine. And my brother was very religious, and I'm sure that God welcomed him, that he was a good man. And they say only the good die young, and that's true. I'm still here.
So thank you for sharing that. And then, so how did you enter the service? Were you drafted, or did you enlist in the war?
Well, I was in the Merchant Marine, and I wasn't drafted in the Merchant Marine. I wanted to go to sea. That's what I like to do, and so I just volunteered on ships.
Okay. Did you participate in any training then for your service, like training camps or anything like that?
Yeah, I went to Catalina Island. It was a training camp there, and somebody came to entertain us. Do you remember who that was?
I wasn't there, Neil.
Yeah, but sometimes you remember things that didn't happen.
So when you got to training, was adapting to military life difficult for you?
No.
So was it, do you have any physical regimen that was different? I guess were your living conditions comfortable, like the barracks or the food?
Was I comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very flexible. Flexibility.
So that's good. Were you able to socialize with any of the other soldiers? Did you make any friends?
Yeah, I made lots of friends.
Do you still keep in touch with any of them, or did you keep in touch with them after the war?
No, I think they're all dead. I'm still here, so I must not be very good.
And so going more into your actual service, where specifically did you serve during the war?
In the South Pacific mostly, although we did make one trip around. We went down to Australia. And went around Australia to, well, we went to Melbourne and then went by car along the southern coast of Australia. Geez, I can't.
Philippines.
Oh yeah, I went to the Philippine Islands in Manila.
Japan.
Yeah, oh yeah. The war was over and our ship was given to the Japanese
Oh,
to bring back prisoners. I forget.
so what were your duties when you went to the South Pacific? Did you deliver troops or supplies to other soldiers? What was that like?
I was on a tanker and we hauled high-test gasoline for the jet pilots that were in Melbourne. We went to Melbourne and went to New Zealand to New Zealand and then to Melbourne and then along the southern coast of Australia and somehow crossed the China Sea to to Perth. Yeah, we went to Melbourne and across the southern part of Australia to Perth.
Okay. And another question, did your family know that you joined the Merchant Marines? And if so, how did they react to that?
Did my family what?
Did your family know that you joined the Merchant Marines? And if so, how did they react?
My mother didn't like it, of course. But they just accepted it.
Mm-hmm. And so I was reading about the Merchant Marines, and they were supposed to be witnessing a lot of the kamikaze attacks by the Japanese fighter planes. Did you ever encounter such attacks?
Say that again?
The Merchant Marines, I was reading about them, and there were supposed to be a lot of the kamikaze attacks on those ships. Did you ever happen to witness any of those attacks happening?
I don't remember.
Okay. And also, when you were serving, did you witness any casualties happen? So what were some of the military actions that you witnessed?
Well, I witnessed a lot of action, and one of the things that sticks in my memory is that we had a crew member that there was always a poker game going on in the ship. And he won a lot of money. And he had a locker and he hid the money, pinned the money inside of his pants pocket. It was inside his pocket, but he put it there so that nobody could steal it. We weren't there. And he he had a place in his locker that he put this money that he won, and he, last minute, risked his life, ran down to the bottom of the engine room, got the money that he had hidden, and pinned it to his pants pocket, inside his pants pocket, ran back up 3 flights of stairs to the deck, took off his pants and jumped in the ocean.
You didn't tell it right. In other words, the money went with the pants down in the ocean. Lost it.
Lost it all.
Oh, wow.
The ship got hit and everything.
And when you were serving, do you have any other war stories that you would like to share? Battles, the Gulf, you mentioned that you served in the Battle of the Gulf of Leyte.
Well, I guess not.
And then how did you feel during combat? When you were serving, were you scared or were you excited to be in the war, to serve for your country?
Of course I was scared. War is a horrible thing, and I was scared.
Any other questions? And one of the really big events that happened in the South Pacific was the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. When you heard of the news, how did you react to that?
Well, I thought it was a terrible thing because we killed innocent people and children. It was indiscriminate. War is a horrible thing.
And then when you were serving, did you value the friendships that you made during the service? Did that make serving in the war easier for you?
Yeah, it's when you have friends in the same boat, you support each other and encourage each other.
And also, did you have any kind of life skills formed during your service? Whether it was individual emotions or as a family on the ship?
Did
Did you develop any sort of life skills during your service? Like, how did you change because you participated in the war?
Yeah, I think I developed some life skills. But I don't know what they are. I remember things that never happened.
And how did you stay in touch with family and friends back home? Were you able to send letters from the ships?
No, you weren't really, because they didn't want anybody to know where you were.
Was that difficult to not be able to communicate with your family?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
How long was it between, how how long was it before you were able to see your family again?
I can't remember.
And I guess, did you get to go back to your home to see your family at any point during this war, or were you out there the entire time at once?
I went to, no, I wasn't able to go back to see my family.
And you mentioned that one of the soldiers played poker on the ship. Were there any other activities that you used to pass the time?
Yeah, there must have been some. I used to play chess with the captain of the ship.
Did you have any tournaments throughout for more than just you and the captain that were set up for fun?
Did we have something for fun?
Did you have tournaments for chess?
Oh, yeah.
And how often were you able to participate in those activities, like the chess with other soldiers? Was it pretty frequent, or were those times very sparse?
I think it was pretty sparse.
So you were active a lot during the combat? Do you have anything else about the war that you would like to share? Like the Gulf of Leyte battle, or were you aware of the island hopping strategy that the US used in the Pacific?
The what strategy?
The island hopping strategy that they used to take over the Pacific Islands.
Yeah.
Did you help with that at all? Did you deliver supplies to the men there?
Well, we helped because we supplied the high-test gasoline for the pilots.
And I guess because the US was drawn into the war in the first place because of the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor, how did you react to that?
We thought it was terrible because at the time we were negotiating with
Japan?
That was the time when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a treachery because at the same time we were in peace talks
Right.
with Japan. And I remember Hirohito, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, Emperor Hirohito said, "You have caught a tiger by the tail."
Did you know anybody that was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed?
No, I don't think so.
And then, so at the end of your service, where were you stationed when the war ended? Did you serve up until the end of the war?
Where was I? I was in... Melbourne, Australia. And we went from Melbourne to New Zealand, and then across the bottom of Australia to Perth, and then from Perth across the Indian Ocean to Goa in India.
Why were you in India at the end of the war? What were you doing in India?
What did I do in India? Cows are sacred in India.
Were you getting more supplies in India, or was that just another stop on the way back to the United States? So how did you return home at the end of your service?
How did what?
How did you return home at the end of your service?
Oh, I came back on a ship that was returning. It was returning people back. Jeez. They were bringing back soldiers that had been wounded.
How did you hear that the war had ended? Did you hear from other comrades, or was there a special message that was delivered to your ship?
How did I?
Did you hear it over the radio that the war had ended?
I can't remember.
What were you, I guess, were you happy that the war had ended when you found out?
Sure.
Yeah. And when you returned home, how did your family react?
Well, they were glad to see me, I think.
Did you have any trouble readjusting back to civilian life?
No,
were there any
I'm
troubles?
very flexible. Flexibility, right?
And did you keep in contact with any of your fellow veterans after the war?
No, I really didn't.
And right now, do you have any membership in any veterans organizations? And some reflections on the war. How did your experience in the war affect your perspective on life? Did it change any of your views? Because you were pretty young when you entered the war.
Life is good.
And do you think that our involvement in the war, even though it was very destructive, do you think that it was at all beneficial for the United States?
Yeah.
How do you think that it helped benefit the United States from participating in World War II?
I don't know. I guess it kept us our freedom.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that the war impacted you as an individual?
It made me aware of the horrible thing that war is. It gives me pause to think that God made man in his own image and gave him the tools to kill each other.
Right.
Twain
Oh yeah, Mark Twain.
said that
Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. Mark Twain.
So I guess, would you say that you're anti-war or pro-war?
Oh, I'm anti-war.
Yeah.
What a waste of everything, a waste of horrible.
Horrible. So the war was definitely more detrimental to the United States. Do you think our participation was
Well,
necessary?
the war was necessary.
Was there anything that you did after the war? Did you still participate in any maybe political activism against war?
No, I don't think so. Except
went to school.
Oh, I went to school? Yeah, that's right. After the war, I went to school
Where did you attend school?
at the University of Hawaii.
What did you study there?
I studied English. I had an English major.
After college, what did you do for a living?
Well, Sonia and I went in the Peace Corps. We had heard about the Peace Corps
Mm-hmm.
and thought it was a terrific idea. And so we joined the Peace Corps.
What did you do in the Peace Corps? What type of service did you participate
Well,
in?
Sonia taught school, and what did I do?
Business.
Oh yeah, I taught business administration,
Cool.
and I had people come to me and say, I said, told them, how can I help you? They said, we want you to tell us what business to go into. A ridiculous question. I said, go get a job and work for 2 years at least on what you want to do, and then do it. But you have to be prepared. You can't just go into business and be a success. And that's what they thought. They came to me and said, what kind of business should I go into? Unanswerable question.
Lithuania.
Yeah. We went to Lithuania.
Were there any other places that you traveled for the Peace Corps?
Pardon me?
Was there anywhere else that you traveled for the Peace Corps?
Is there any place else we...
All over Europe, everywhere.
Yeah. All over Europe.
So I guess.
It's been 31 minutes.
So thank you very much for participating in the interview. It was very helpful for our project.
Well, I'm glad I could help a little bit. Thank you.
Did you know anybody that got injured, or did you see anybody get hurt during your service? Was your ship ever attacked during the war?
Yeah.
What happened when your ship was attacked?
It was a Japanese submarine. Do you know what a degaussing system is?
No. What's a degaussing system?
It changes the polarity of the surface of the ship, the seal surface, so that instead of attracting, the torpedoes they had then had magnetic heads where they would seek out the iron hull and come and hit the ship. So in order to stop that, they put in degaussing systems, which is a electric circuit that goes around the ships and changes the polarity of the ship, so that the torpedo comes and sees that difference in polarity and turns around and goes back and hits whoever fired it. It's pretty horrible and pretty ingenious.
So during that attack, did your ship suffer any injuries? Was your ship damaged during that attack?
Yeah, the ship. That was, did I tell you that maybe I told you that's where the guy hid his money in a locker? Yeah. Risked his life to go down the stairs, 3 stories down to the engine room. Took his pouch out that he had hidden in his locker stuck it in his pocket, pinned it in his pocket so he wouldn't lose it. And then he risked his life to go down to the engine room to get it.
Right.
And he ran up the stairs and stood at the side of the ship and took off his pants and dived in.
In order to save his life from the attack.
No, the dummy. He ran down and risked his life to get his money and gets up on the deck and takes his pants off and jumps in the water. Leaves the money on the ship.
Did your squadron or troop suffer a lot of casualties during this attack?
On my ship?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a... I can't remember what I was going to say about that.
Did a lot of people get injured on your boat during this attack?
No, I don't think so.
So, that's good. Anything else? Yeah, so thank you again for elaborating.
Mm-hmm.